Lake Resources has officially hit new heights. It's pushed past that $1.50 mark, and it's officially on the journey towards the $2 billion market cap level. LKE shareholders have been very happy over this past period. There's a lot of excitement behind the story, and there's been a few fundamental drivers, with catalysts really helping to bring new excitement and new eyes onto the Lake Resources journey. Today, we're going to discuss a few different catalysts. As you can see here, we've outlined 4 different fundamental drivers over this past period, as well as some sentiment-driven drivers that have attracted a lot of attention both onto Lake, as well as the broader lithium sector. And make sure you stay until the end of the video, because we'll talk about the next steps and what investors should watch for looking forward out to this next period for Lake Resources. It's an exciting story, of course, for any developer as they move from early stage exploration and move towards development, the finalization of their DFS, and ultimately moving towards an FID. It always attracts a lot of excitement. And that's what Lake Resources is currently doing with their flagship Kachi project. So with that, let us know your thoughts on it all. Drop in a comment below and let's get talking about Lake Resources. So I think first and foremost, what's worth noting and really underpins everything that's played out over this past period has been Lake Resources' new Target 100 program. Lake Resources is targeting 100,000 tonnes per annum of lithium production, downstream production by 2030. This, of course, would make them one of the top 5 global producers in the world. They would be a producer at scale, and they, of course, have the potential available resources already with a range of different projects that they're looking to develop. Kachi, their flagship project, they've recently lifted the base case to 50,000 TPA, and of course they're continuing drilling and exploration across a number of their other projects. But here were a few different factors that have played out, and we're going to go into detail for each of these as we progress through the video. First and foremost, Lake Resources, along with a number of other lithium and EV battery material ASX companies, were included into the ASX 300. The quarterly rebalances are always exciting, and of course, this has drawn a lot of eyes and attention onto LKE. We know that Lake Resources have an upcoming DFS. This, of course, will be coupled with their environmental and social impact assessment, as well as some further discussions and progression on the financing front. So there's a lot of potential catalysts in Q2 of 2022 that investors are starting to bid up in anticipation of. We know that the demonstration plant as well. They've got the first news that the demonstration plant was dispatched from California on the way to Kachi. And of course, there's going to be a lot of excitement as they establish that on site and begin producing lithium carbonate. And then finally, how could we talk about any lithium developer without talking about the lithium market? The spot price has continued pushing to new heights, and a lot more eyes onto the story as their energy prices for a range of different substitutes and alternatives have continued pushing higher. There's thoughts about whether this will incentivize new buying and new demand for the electric vehicle transition around the world. And so just having a look at the ASX LKE share price. Lake Resources is well and truly up over 300% over the past 12 months. They were a top performer on the ASX boards in 2021, not just for the ASX Lithium stocks, but for the broader ASX boards. And we can see here, the share price is closed most recently at $1.42. It touched its head above the $1.50 mark. And as mentioned, it's not far off the $2 billion market cap level now. It's been a real steady period of sustained growth. Lake Resources, of course, still pre-construction, still pre-production. So it is earlier stage than many of your other conventional producers, but they've got a range of really exciting projects. And of course, their Kachi Lithium Project is not far off the DFS landing, which is attracting this excitement. Before we explore further as well, as you guys know, I'm just a bloke on the internet who loves talking about stocks. They're not buy recommendations, it's not financial advice. I do hope, however, it's an interesting starting spot for you to go away and do your own research from. So for the first catalyst to discuss today, ASX 300 inclusion. This really helps to establish Lake Resources as a major lithium developer. There are a range of them emerging from this current crop, and a lot of excitement surrounding the cohort. We know that the EV battery materials companies really helped lead the inclusions at this most recent March quarterly rebalance, but also over the past one in December as well. There was a range of key names, Core Lithium, Firefinch, Sayona, and of course Lake Resources, and it really shows to this transition moving towards the EV battery materials space. We know that index inclusions have a range of different benefits, both on a sentiment level as well as a fundamental level. They help to increase demand for shares. Firstly, funds, ETFs that aim to provide exposure to the underlying indexes, they will have to buy these shares to provide that exposure. Secondly, other funds may have mandates to only purchase from, say, the ASX 300 or the ASX 200 benchmark index. And so this opens up exposure to Lake Resources as well as other companies that have been included. And then additionally, on the more interestingly and quite intangible but qualitative side, investors are often searching for ideas as well as validation. Maybe they'll scan for the recent inclusions. They might run their eyes over the ASX 300 or the All Ordinaries Top 500 for their ideas. And now that Lake Resources' name is on that list, it definitely brings a lot more attention and eyes onto their opportunity. And then second on the list is their upcoming DFS and then ultimately the final investment decision that could flow out of that. We know that the definitive feasibility study will follow on from the PFS that was released a couple of years ago, but this DFS will be exposed to elevated prices. We're all familiar with the elevated lithium spot prices, as well as the upgraded production. The initial PFS was done at 25,000 tonne per annum, still a significant scale project compared to global production currently, because this of course is for the downstream carbonate. However, when you're upgrading it to 50,000 tonne per annum throughput, the numbers are going to get quite significant, and that's why there's a lot of excitement surrounding it. It's worth noting as well that the environmental and social impact assessment will come in tandem with this in Q2 2022. The FID will flow on from that. And it's not only Kachi in isolation, but Lake has got an extensive exploration and drilling program across their other projects too. So it'll be fascinating for more insights to flow out of those in the coming months and years. The next announcement, and this was one of the most recent ones for Lake, was that the demonstration plant is officially on its way. As you can see here from the visual on the right, it is on its way, leaving California, on the way to Argentina, into the Lithium Triangle. It's been assembled and it's been dispatched. We know that Lake Resources, it's not doing a conventional brine extraction process, as is often familiar with the Lithium Triangle. No, it's actually looking to leverage an innovative direct lithium extraction project that will be licensing from its partner Lilac Technologies. And it will be leveraging its direct lithium extraction that will help it to produce a premium grade lithium product produced with an ESG edge as well. We know that a successful demonstration plant will go some way to de-risking the technology. Of course, new technologies, they're uncertain, they're unproven. There's a natural uncertainty awaiting until it has been proven. And of course, work in the lab is fantastic, but being able to demonstrate this on site with lithium produced from the project will go some way to de-risking it and be a major tick in the box as well. What's interesting and noteworthy as well about the direct lithium extraction process is that it is a modular process that will have the potential to facilitate further plug and play for additional projects moving forward and additional scale ups too. If you've enjoyed the video so far, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're new here, welcome. We make a daily video each and every day. We'd love to have you join the community, so make sure you've subscribed, turn your bell notifications on as well. And then of course, that brings us to the lithium market. Spot prices continue to break through all-time highs. The lithium carbonate price, depending on which contracts you're looking at, has pushed through the $70,000 a tonne level. This is absolutely incredible to be able to witness and experience. EV demand, of course, it continues to grow. We're familiar with the demand drivers. But what we've seen over this past period that's quite fascinating is it's not as simple as we anticipated for supply to come online. There's a lot of thought that eventually we'll get that supply reaction and supply will start to equalize and normalize and we'll reach this equilibrium. But it hasn't been that simple over this past period. And of course, the demand for lithium due to the EV demand is in the here and now, and this is why prices continue to soar higher and higher. We do know on the other side too, there's significant government investment and support globally to facilitate this EV transition, which is only likely to continue to grow as we move towards a more decarbonised society. And rising energy prices, we've seen fuel prices, gas prices, oil prices pushing higher and higher with the geopolitical uncertainties over this past period. And it's not unfeasible to consider that this could incentivize consumers on an individual basis to consider switching over to electric vehicles, particularly if it's sustained. And so then, the story. What's next for Lake Resources? First and foremost, if you're interested in learning more about the ASX LKE story, we'll leave a link up above to our recent interview with the Lake Resources CEO and Managing Director Steve Promnitz. We unpacked the opportunity for Lake. But of course, I'd love to know your thoughts too. So drop in a comment below what you think about Lake Resources, what you think about the recent run for LKE to all-time highs, and what do you think's up next for the rest of 2022? It really is that journey to the 100,000 tonne per annum. First and foremost, we know there's those final things that need to be ticked off. DFS, easier, all approved, working towards finalising financing as well. At the moment, they've got 70% indicative. What's interesting about this? Long dated debt, but it's got a low interest rate as well, which of course, that's what you want to be securing. We know that the demonstration plant on site into operation will, as mentioned previously, go some way to de-risking it. But something we haven't mentioned yet that a lot of investors are starting to speculate about. The first off-taker to be announced. We know that Lake hasn't committed to any of their offtake yet. Due to that, they're able to get exposure to the elevated prices. They are looking, due to our previous discussions with Steve Prominence, who's mentioned that they are looking for a bit of a rise and fall mechanic incorporated into whatever offtake they signed. So it'll be fascinating to see how that plays out and who that offtake could be with. And then, of course, we wouldn't be watching the company without watching the lithium spot price and EV demand. This is definitely going to be indicative as to the direction and trajectory for the broader cohort, for the broader sector. But there's definitely some real structural tailwinds behind what many are anticipating could be a new commodities super cycle starting up. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for joining us. For now, stay well and happy investing.